Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, June the 1st. Ian Cameron with you, along with Alex B. Smith, as we look ahead to tonight with just one game. And you can tell now we're getting deeper into the playoffs, and we get to the time of the Stanley Cup playoffs with just one game on the schedule. But that is the case tonight with the Lightning and the Hurricanes, game 2 of that series. We'll break it down for you in just a second. Before we do that, though, we will start with last night's action. And we will start with what is, to this day, a funeral taking place for a lot of people around me today. It's like somebody's died. It's like they've lost a loved one. Whatever the case may be, life will not go on for so many people around me. And all of these people that I'm talking about are the poor, pathetic, sad sack Toronto Maple Leafs fans that have had to sit through the disgrace, the embarrassment, the shame of yet another epic fail, another epic choke job, another epic gag job, another epic disaster. And if you think that was this result for the Toronto Maple Leafs was anything but that, you are absolutely out to lunch. You're Coco Loco. You're obviously burying your head in the sand and completely devoid of any sort of reality. This is nothing short of a cataclysmic disaster for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it trumps anything that they've done the last couple of years in terms of these Game 7 failures and these Game 7 collapses. It's everything. It's worse than that. It's worse than everything that they have done to this point. You know, you thought it was bad. If you're the Leafs fan, you're thinking to yourself, wow, I thought 2013, when we spit the bit, win a 4-1 lead against the Boston Bruins in the third period and allowed two goals with the net empty. 2 goals the Bruins scored that night with the net empty, down 4-2 in that game. And they came back and they tied it 4-4. And then, of course, Bergeron wins it in overtime against a Leaf team that back then they had, James Reimer was the goalie. Jake Gardiner had a horrendous game that night with a bunch of giveaways. And they ended up losing 5-4. They were up 4-1 with 10 minutes to go in the third period. And if you're a Leaf fan coming out of that game and you've thought this way for years, that's rock bottom. Things can't get any worse, can they? That's about as bad of ending to a series and a season as we will ever experience as the fans of this wretched organization that has done nothing for 54 years, that has done less than nothing for the last 17 years, going on 18 now since they've won their last playoff series. That's number one. And then number two, all right, we now are rebuilding. The bottom fell out after that playoff loss. They had a couple of lean years, but you're going to get back on track now. You're going to look to the future, and you draft 3 distinguished first-round players, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, and Austin Matthews, of which you are going to build the future of this organization around these 3 players. And I am happy to report to you that one of those 3 players actually did something in that series against the Montreal Canadiens. One player, and that was William Nylander, the one you wouldn't have expected it to be. He was one of the best forwards in this entire series for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you build, the franchise around these 3 players. You get into the playoffs the first year, Matthews' rookie year. Marner had just been with the team against Washington. And you actually get off to a good start in that series against the Capitals and can't close. And you lose the series and you lose the lead. Okay, but you're rookies, right? These are young guys. First year, first time in the playoffs. We were playing with house money. The fact we got into the playoffs, it was already a successful season, right? That year against Washington. Nothing wrong with that. All right, year 2 now. You hope to take a little bit of progression. You got into the playoffs. Now you're hoping to do a little bit more. And you got a chance to take on Boston again. And what ends up happening? Yeah. You end up actually coming back to make it an interesting series, but again, cannot get the job done. And then the year after that, another loss to Boston. This time, you were up 3-2 with a home game in Game 6 with a chance to close out the series. You don't do it. You go back to Boston for Game 7, and every Leaf fan known to man knew what was coming at that point. It was another collapse. It was another disappointment. It was another season ending in agony, ending in despair, ending in shame. And that's exactly what ended up happening there. And then last year, the bubble, the Columbus Blue Jackets in that round, Babcock was the issue then those last couple of years. They said, no, we got to make the coaching change now. Bring Sheldon Keefe in. Things are going to be maybe a little bit different now, a different voice behind the bench. And then last year against Columbus, what do we see? Same old shit. A deciding Game 5, unable to get the job done, and they lose to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And now this year, but you look at the changes to the roster and the things that Kyle Dubas did to put this team in a position to not only finally win a playoff series, but actually put them in a position to go for a Stanley Cup this year. Bringing in veterans, Joe Thornton, is Jason Spezza now second year with the team. What they added on the blue line, Zach Bogosian, who won a Stanley Cup last year with the Tampa Bay Lightning. You bring in, TJ Brody, a very good defenseman. I actually thought had a terrific season. I hang not very much of this on him. I thought he was very good on that blue line for the Leafs. They made so many good, sound, fundamentally logical upgrades to the roster in areas where, a little deeper forward, much deeper and better on the blue line. And look, at some times in the past couple of seasons where the Leafs have failed in the playoffs, they've had a bad goal or two from Frederik Andersen or from James Reimer if you go way back to 2013. And that's often costed you series at the worst time, cost you series. But Jack Campbell, could he have done anything more than he did in this series? The first goal last night in Game 7 with Brendan Gallagher scoring it. Could he have stopped it? Maybe. But again, I don't point the finger at Campbell because it was a quick developing situation. It was a quick shot by Gallagher. I believe it took a slight deflection. It hit something ever so slightly, the Leaf player in front of him, in front of Gallagher when Gallagher took that shot, and it beat Campbell. Yeah, he probably should have had it, went through him. But if you think about the way he played in that series, I don't hold much of the blame to him. If Game 5 or Game 6, he is not standing on his head and ready to go from the very beginning. Those games, especially Game 6, it could have been much worse for the Leafs if not for Jack Campbell in Game 6 the other night. So Game 7 last night, I talked about it and ranted about it on Sunday that I was infuriated to hear the Leafs say we weren't ready to play in Game 5 and Game 6, talking about how bad their start was in both of those games. I raked the Leafs over the coals for those terrible starts that they had. Well, Game 7 shows up last night, and I see some Leaf fans and even some of the players after the game last night when they were asked about the start saying it was actually a better start. Oh, so the start is better because you go from having your ass kicked to do. So basically, it was a better start to Game 7 last night for the Leafs because they went from having their ass kicked in the first period of Game 5, moved up a ladder, or a notch on the ladder, a rung on the ladder. They moved up from having our ass kicked in the first period to we did absolutely nothing offensively in the first period last night in Game 7. But hey, it was still a better start because at least we weren't getting swarmed. That is the mentality of this organization and its fan base to a T. It's a loser's thought. It's a loser's mentality. Again, you needed a better start. You needed to do what Montreal did to you in Game 5 and in Game 6. You needed to swarm Carey Price. You needed to be in the offensive zone. You needed to win puck battles. You needed to win foot races for loose pucks. You needed to do all of that stuff. You needed to get on the body. You needed to hem Montreal in their own defensive zone. Did I see any of that from the Leafs? That's a good start. That's a better start. I'm still seeing Leaf fans say we had a better start last night because we weren't hemmed in. Did you do anything offensively? Did you do anything? Did you have a good quality scoring chance in the first period of that game last night? No, you did not. So where this nonsense comes from that was a better start, I'll have no idea. That was basically going from a horseshit start to a shitty start, which isn't much of an upgrade, which isn't much better, if you ask me. And look, you knew the game was going off the rails for the Leafs too, when of all people, the guy that's feeling the pressure, the guy that's maybe underachieved more than anybody in this series for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mitch Marner, is the guy that gives the puck away at the blue line, leading to that first goal. You just knew it was going to be trouble from that point on. And I don't know what it is with this group. Look, this series starts and ends with why did they lose? What is the crux of it? They lost puck battles. The harder areas of the ice were won by Montreal. Won by Montreal all over the ice in this series. They were in the tough areas. They were getting the puck in those areas. Toronto was not. And when Toronto did get those pucks in those areas, they were missing the net. They were shooting the puck off a body, blocked shots. Price made some great saves too. He was a big part of it. Carey Price, terrific in that series, especially as it went on. And look, I could listen to Marner last night, Matthews, the two guys that needed to do more collectively. One goal, right? That's where the series was lost. You hate to be harsh, but we were harsh on Connor. We were harsh on Leon for the Edmonton Oilers when they lost to Winnipeg. It's time to bring the hammer down on M&M here. Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. One goal between in this series on over 50 shots. All right? One goal on over 50 shots in this series for the two of them combined. You got to produce. I don't want to hear about, oh, we had chances. Oh, we had looks. Oh, we had a lot of good opportunities. No, you're paid to produce. You're paid to put the puck in the net. You're not paid for chances. You're not paid for shots. You're not paid for offensive zone time. You're paid to put the puck in the freaking net. Period. End of story. End of discussion. I don't want to hear excuses. John Wooden and Bill Walton. I've heard them for years because Bill Walton played for Wooden, the great UCLA basketball coach. And John Wooden, one of his mantras in life to his players, don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. That's making excuses. We had chances, we had shots. You know, what can you do? You got to put them in. You have to put them in. Somehow, some way, you have to put them in. The teams that win Stanley Cups, they find guys to put them in. Is Nathan MacKinnon having a problem putting pucks in right now? Is Nathan MacKinnon having an issue? And Nathan MacKinnon, you know, is actually, believe it or not, making less money than Marner. Can you believe that? It's hard to believe. That is absolutely stunning to me. That, you know what? If I'm Mitch Marner, I should say I'm embarrassed that I'm making this amount of money right now, and Nathan MacKinnon is making less than me. I should donate half of my salary to this guy because he deserves it, because I sure as shit don't. After that series, I mean, absolutely awful. Him in particular, the delay of game penalty, a brain dead decision in game 6, absolutely terrible stuff from him. The fact that MacKinnon is making less money than Mitch Marner, who did nothing, jack shit in this series, is a travesty. It's a disgrace, to be honest with you. And we're seeing Nathan MacKinnon be the ultimate, as Cheshire Cat in our chat is saying, the ultimate boss right now, leading by example, producing in the playoffs. There are ways to produce in the playoffs. There are. It's not just about trying and getting shots and getting chances. And that's what it sounds like here, that a little bit last night, that the woe is me attitude that Marner had, especially in his press conference. Well, we had chances, we had shots, but puck just wasn't going in. You know, this isn't the situation. And then the Leaf fans are kind of on board with that, saying, well, we did start better. What is this? What is this? We're going to give you a participation ribbon now? It doesn't work that way. Participation ribbon? You tried. You had chances. You were a little bit better with your start. You didn't give up a ton of shots like you did in Game 5 or Game 6. We participated in the proceedings. We're supposed to give you the Stanley Cup because of that. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. The Leafs players got to recognize that, and the fan base has to recognize that as well. And now the hard decisions come. And I like the Leaf fans. And now I'm going to get to the Leaf fans, because I've ripped on these poor players enough, especially Marner. You know, we'll let him have his, grieving period, his reflection period, whatever that. I don't know what that's going to help a tinker's dam, but we're going to let him have that opportunity. I got to turn my attention to the fans now. First of all, I've got two issues with some of them. A lot of the Leaf fans I know are good people, really good, and good fans that just say, you know what, we didn't get it done. We're not making excuses. This is what we do. We find a way to spit the bit. We find a way to fail to get it done. We find a way to just choke in the most important games and the most important situations of our season. That's just the way it is. And they accept that. And they say, you know what? This hurts me. This is killing me today. I know one best friend of mine, huge Leaf fan his whole life. I've known him for over 20 years. It's killing me today. But guess what? I'm a Leaf fan. I still love my team. And I'm just going to keep on hoping for better days. And I'll be right back there with them, cheering them on. And another thing he's doing is he's not saying, fire the coach, fire the GM, blow up the roster, do all of this stuff. You can't do anything. Do you understand that, people that are saying that heads have to roll? There's no way you're going to be able to make that possible. Let's run through what's going on. You have 75 to 80% of your cap tied up in contracts to Nylander, Marner, and Matthews. All right, good luck getting rid of those, first of all. You're not going to be able to extricate yourself from that. You're stuck hook or crook, with these guys being your core for the next at least few years. That's the way it is. You got to win or lose with what you got right now in terms of your main core. That is, Tavares ain't going anywhere. Nylander's not going anywhere. Marner isn't going anywhere. Matthews isn't going anywhere. And then I hear the people say, okay, well, we can't make drastic changes. Like, I think Thornton won't be back. I think that's clear as day. He's probably going to retire. Spezza, I think they would try to fit Spezza in, believe it or not, back on this team, because I thought he played great. I thought he was really good for the Leafs this season. But, there's these one-year contracts. Bogosian's iffy to come back, even though he played well. They're going to trim the fat, so to speak. You got to cut out some of these one-year contracts, and you got to try to create cap space somewhere. But look, if you want to blow up the core of this roster, there is not a chance in hell that is happening. And there's some delusional, diluted Leafs fans that think that's going to happen in the offseason. No, it is not. No, it is not. All right, so keep on dreaming. All right, that is not going to happen for this Leafs team. That's one. The second thing I'm hearing Leaf fans say today and last night as well, we got to fire Dubas. Dubas did everything he could for this team. This ain't on Dubas. You're an absolute moron if you think the general manager is at fault here. He put this roster together as good as you could ask. He gave them depth on defense. He gave them a little grit, a little edge, a little veteran experience. And the veteran experience didn't let them down. Thornton played a decent round. He scored a goal. Spezza was great in this series. This comes back to the high-priced offensive talent that did not produce in this series against Montreal. That's Dubas's fault? That's Dubas's fault. He put this roster on paper. This was as good a roster as you could hope for. This is on the players not doing it, not getting the job done. That's where the issue is. It's not the GM, and the GM's not going anywhere. Brendan Shanahan likes Kyle. Just hired him a couple years ago. He's not going to get rid of him just yet. And then I'm also hearing, well, this coach now has not done well in terms of adjustments in this series. We got to get rid of Sheldon Keefe. Well, if Kyle Dubas doesn't get fired, and he's not going to get fired, neither is Sheldon Keefe, because Sheldon Keefe is Kyle Dubas's guy through and through. Do you not realize it's not a matter of what should or shouldn't happen? Do you not realize how this organization, the organization that you're a so-called fan of, was constructed? Do you not understand the inner workings of management and coaching and how this team was assembled? Do you not get that Sheldon Keefe has been stuck to Kyle Dubas's side as his coach going back to when he was the GM of the OHL Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds many years ago? Like, that is how long Keefe has been with Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas is, as long as Kyle Dubas is GM, Sheldon Keefe is head coach, in my opinion. That's not changing. So get that thought out of your head right now. So all of you people demanding infinitive changes right now, you're not going to get them. All right? You're not going to get them. They're going to be small changes here and there, little tweaks, little adjustments. But this is not going to be we're blowing up the team situation. You're absolutely fooling yourself if you're a Leaf fan and you believe that. And the very last thing I'll say, and then I'll finally let poor Alex get a word in here, talk about this game. The last thing I will say is, and this one's sickening, because there's nothing more I hate than disloyalty to the team that you are a fan of and have been a fan of for your entire life. I am just beyond disgusted, ashamed. Look, I know there's a lot of shame and embarrassment that Leaf fans feel right now because they just have not been able to get over this hump. They have not been able to win a playoff series. They have not won a playoff series in 17 years, and it's going on 18 now. I understand that. The Toronto Maple Leafs have not won a playoff series in high-definition television. All right? In that era, they have not won a playoff series. HD has been around since almost that time. 05, 06 is when it launched. And the Leafs, when they beat Ottawa in 2004, we were still on standard F back then. That tells you all you need to know. Hell, I'm the fan of a loser sad sack team growing up as well, the Buffalo Sabres. Hell, at least my team won a playoff series before more recently than the Leafs did. At least that's the one thing as a Sabres fan I can hold my hat on. At least we had those great 06 years with Briere and Drury, Brian Campbell, great Sabre. Jason Pominville in his prime. What a great Sabres run that was for a few years. The Leafs, I mean, they're way before even us. The Sabres had those great years since they've won a playoff series. So I understand the frustration. It's been 17 years of misery. It's been 17 years of collapses, failures, choke jobs, you name it. It's been nothing but bad for the Leafs. But for some Leaf fans to tonight, last night, and earlier today that I've seen and talked to and heard say, I'm done with this team. Fuck this team. I'm done with them. Throwing their jerseys in the garbage, saying, you know what, I'm not watching this team play hockey ever again. Screw them. I'm done with them. I'm not watching them. I'm not paying for tickets anymore. I'm not going to any more Leaf games. I'm going to start cheering for another team. I'm seeing Leaf fans saying they're going to start cheering for the Seattle Kraken when they start their first season next year. First of all, shut the hell up. Second of all, you're saying, oh, I'm done with this team. I'm done with this team. You're done with shit. All right? You're going right back next October to cheer on this team for better or for worse. And you're still going to be the same, hard trying Leaf fan that you always have been. Stop with the nonsense. All right? You're not changing teams. You're not shutting this team out. You're not done with anything. You're still going to be a Leaf fan today. You're still going to be a Leaf fan next year, and you're going to still be a Leaf fan 20 years from now, just like you've been for your entire life, because it's about loyalty. When you're a true fan, when you're a hardcore fan of a sports team, you stick with them through good times and through bad times. It's as simple as that. You don't change allegiances because they're not playing well. You stick with it. You be loyal. You show some ability to just stand by your team. Is Alex B. Smith going to say, you know what, if the Blackhawks are sucked for 10 years, I'm done with them? No, he's not going to do that. He's going to stand by them every step of the way because that's what a true fan does. And if you're all of a sudden one of these fans that's going to resort to saying, I'm done with this team or I'm going to cheer for someone else, you're not a true fan. And if you follow through on that, you're just a front runner. You're just a bandwagon fan. You're basically no better than some of these New England Patriots fans that I've known for the last 10 years that only became Patriots fans when Tom Brady and Hoodie showed up there and started winning Super Bowls. Where were you when Drew Bledsoe was there? Where were you before Robert Kraft took over the team? Where the hell were you in the 90s when the New England Patriots were a disaster? Where were you when Bill Parcells was coaching the team briefly there? You weren't nowhere to be found as a Patriots fan. Now all of a sudden you're a bandwagoner with Brady and Belichick there. If you disband from being a Leafs fan now, that you're no better than that. So shut up, own the failure, be upset about it, be disgusted by it, be absolutely filled with rage, anger, all of that. You have every right to be. This is another epic disaster for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But don't you dare pull the I'm done with this team card. Don't you dare pull the I'm done with this team crap, because we all know you're full of crap for saying it. You're not going anywhere. You're still going to be a Leaf fan. You're a Leaf fan today. You were a Leaf fan 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And guess what? You're still going to be one 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years from now. End of story. Alex B. Smith, Game 7, Habs Leafs. Your time.
Very well said, Ian. And I'm gonna lead off with what you just finished up with the fans. As someone who, like you said, I'm a Hawks fan. I've been a Hawks fan since I was 5 years old. I watched this team through the absolute worst years of their history. And throughout the years and all the different things that, we needed to change, this and that and the other. And the biggest thing that needed to change and ultimately what did and what led to the success we've had in, the greater part of the last decade it needed to be an overall culture change. And of course, that had to come from a tragedy in the sense of our owner dying and his son taking over. But that's what needed to happen in order for this franchise to make a return back to glory. The Leafs have the personnel in place as far as players go, as far as coaching, as far as GM and upper management. But they need a culture change. They need a mindset change. And that's got to come from within the players first. The fans can only manifest so much, but these players have to they need to all band together. And hopefully, I know everybody is going to be kind of trying to go back to their respective homes this summer, especially with the quarantines and different things ending, this pandemic coming to a close. But honestly, this is a group that really should try to stay together in Toronto or pick a place wherever in the world and bond together. They need to have a true bond and form a goal, form a core that says, hey, you know what? We need to end this shit once and for all. We have the talent. We have the personnel. These fans have been waiting forever. We have to. It's on us now to deliver this, and they got to live by this. This needs to be a way of life for them at this point. If you're built in, if you're going to have this long-term contract, you're going to take this money from this organization. You got to be dedicated to this organization, and you just can't have these kind of gaps and lapses in these big moments. They have to end. So for Marner, Nylander, Matthews, Tavares, those are the four guys. They need to band together and say, hey, it's up to us to stop this shit once and for all. There's no reason we should be going through the same doldrums that have been going on for 17 years. There's no reason that we shouldn't, talk about that. We have the longest cup drought now in history. This is longer than the 54-year drought that the Rangers had from 1940 to 1994. It's on you. It's on the core players of this organization, and then it stems from outward. I understand the fans being upset and being disappointed and saying, you want to be like, oh, you'd rather watch a better hockey team. I get it. I went through that same phase too, but I didn't back away. I didn't throw my Hawks jerseys in the trash or set them on fire. No, you got to stick by your team. Stick by, you stick by them and they stick by you. But the players have to buy into that system, and they aren't doing it right now. And hopefully this will finally be the wake-up call for that group of four to rally around the rest of the players, whoever they do bring in, because they got a lot of free agents that'll be moving out. I can't imagine any of the unrestricted free agents. Maybe for Spezza, because of cap issues, they could re-sign him in a cheaper deal. But everybody else is going to be gone. But they got to bring in guys who are going to buy into the system and buy into the change that they need to make moving forward. So until they do that, we're just going to see the same old shit, throughout the years. Maybe they don't even make the playoffs next year, depending on how tough things are. Think about all these teams in the North Division. They got to get back to traveling again, back to the U.S., back cross country, back and forth. It's going to be tough for the North Division teams when they get back to their respective divisions. So, nothing's guaranteed for them. They got to take, the chances while they have it. And they still have it for a couple more years with this core group, but they've got to buy into a system and a belief, just like the Hawks did when they started that one goal movement. That's what the one goal meant, to rebuild this organization to a winner. And they did that. The Leafs need some kind of drastic change, and it needs to happen this summer.
Yeah, exactly. And the culture change, you know what the culture change is too? It's a mindset in terms of when things start to go against us, we have an ability to push back and turn it back in our favor. We didn't see that in this series. Game 5 got away from them, and that's really when the series shifted to Montreal, who came out firing in Game 6, who were the better team for Game 7. They couldn't flip the momentum when it started to go against them. And that's a weak, fragile team when that happens. It's simple as that. And that's what's got to change. You've got to find a way to get momentum back when you lose it. And the Leafs have not shown that ability to do that in this year's playoffs and all the recent playoff failures. That's an issue. And it's been an issue for 17 years. Like we said, 2004, the television was not even in high definition service. Think about that. That's the last time they won a playoff series. Usher and Ludacris and Lil Jon, number 1 on the charts in Billboard the last time they won a playoff. Great song, by the way. I remember I was listening to that all the time my last year of high school. Think about that. My last year of high school. That's the last time they won a playoff series. Holy fuck! And I'm 35 years old now.
Yeah. I was a sophomore going into my junior year of high school that year, and like I said, it's just absolutely insane that. And we're talking about, this is the thing too. We're talking about teams that are good in the regular season and then falling apart in the playoffs. It's not like we're talking about a team that's 20 years where they haven't even made the playoffs. They're not spending the money. They're not doing this and that. They're doing everything right by the book as far as, compared to some other franchises, that weren't spending. The Hawks weren't spending any fucking money. Seems like Buffalo's going to have issues trying to bring players in. Not so much them spending money. It's just personnel. Columbus is a team that's probably going to struggle forever trying to draw players in. You have those issues. You don't have any of that. Toronto's okay. We're talking about basically the equivalent, the Canadian equivalent of New York City. You got the media coverage, you got the fame, and if you fucking win there, you're going to be legends. So there's, this is the place you want to be, especially if you're a Canadian. It's got to be obviously a bit more pride playing in Toronto, wearing the Leaf on your sweater, knowing about the history of this franchise. That's got to stand for something. You have to play with that pride. We always talk about, the crest on the front, not the name in the back. That needs to be the true emphasis for anybody who's signing with this Leafs team moving forward.
And again, again being able to get momentum back on your side when you lose it and turn the tide. It seems like as soon as things go bad for the Leafs, they stay bad. And that's what's going to have to in games and in series. And that kind of mindset has to change. No question about that. And again, it's going to be a very interesting offseason. Credit to the legendary voice of the Leafs, Joe Bowen, who in his final remarks at the end of last night's game actually chuckled on the air. He says, boy, this should be some kind of offseason. And he's chuckling. He's as disappointed and upset as anybody else. He loves that team, and it comes through in his play-by-play. But the fact he could still chuckle about what the offseason might hold for the Leafs coming up after this, it just shows you that at the end of the day, it's just a game. It really is. It's hockey. You feel gut-wrenched, but hey, life will go on. It'll go on for the Leafs organization. It'll go on for the Leafs fans. We can only hope it's going to go on a little bit more successfully for you in the years ahead than it has for the last couple of decades. Before we fully turn the page to the Bruins-Islanders game from last night, it's now time to acknowledge the Montreal Canadiens and what they did in this series and give them their props, give them their due. What I saw was a team that changed the style of play a little bit once they got down 3-1 in terms of we're going to really dig in defensively. We're going to really, really battle for pucks, win puck battles, win board battles. And that was the difference in the last 3 games. Montreal was winning puck battles and board battles. Toronto was not. And you give them a lot of credit. I give Petrie, I give Edmondson, I give Sherratt, and I give even Shea Weber a lot of credit in this series. That big 4 defensemen for the Montreal Canadiens played very well. All 4 of them collectively. Tyler Toffoli had a nice series. Josh Anderson was very good. Kotkaniemi, he struggled in the regular season. Habs fans have been frustrated with him for a while. Look at the impact he made. Nick Suzuki, who is showing you right before our eyes what a player he could be. The old veteran, the old playoff vet who just finds a way to somehow make a difference. Corey Perry, including a big goal last night on the power play to make it 2-0 for Montreal. Great play from him in this series. I know Cole Caulfield was quiet, but I thought, he made things happen. He had chances. Wait until that puck goes in for him. Look out. There's a lot to be excited about for the Montreal Canadiens. And I know nobody gave them a chance in this series. Nobody. Everybody picked Toronto in this series. But we have to rewind to the beginning of the season when on this show, on our season preview, I said it, Alex said it, and I know Jimmy said it too. We thought Montreal could be a dangerous team at playoff time. We said they could make a run. They could maybe be a Stanley Cup contender. I still have a Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cup futures ticket pending. And, I never thought twice about it, for the longest time because, look, we were all, I guess you could say, blinded a little bit by the fact that this team had just such a disappointing regular season. They did. I mean, we thought this team was going to be so much better in the regular season than they were. I mean, we thought they were good enough with their roster. If Price played well, with the blue line the way it was, bringing in Josh Anderson, bringing in Joel Edmondson, bringing in Jake Allen as a very good backup to Carey Price. We thought Montreal could be a very good team and dangerous playoff team, maybe a team that could go on a run in the playoffs. But a lot of us, and I can speak for me, we soured on that opinion because Montreal just so gravely disappointed in the regular season and underachieved to the point where, look, they barely had to hang on for that playoff spot and just barely stay ahead of Calgary, to make the playoffs as the 4th and final playoff team in the North Division. So that is why I think everybody across the board, hockey fans, hockey bettors, hockey pundits, truly just absolutely gave up on Montreal just because their regular season was just not very awe-inspiring, to be honest with you. And we saw the Leafs play just so good throughout the regular season, take 7 of the 10 meetings against Montreal during the regular season. You put all those factors together, and it was just an onslaught of opinions that Toronto was going to not win this series, and most of them saying Toronto was going to roll in this series. And it couldn't have been anything but that in this series. Instead, Montreal advances in 7, and I wanted to give them credit. That top 4 blue line, was very good for them. And look, Winnipeg doesn't have the deep blue line Toronto did. So there are some things to look for Montreal in this series. Can they get that balanced scoring production? They had all 4 lines contribute more than we thought they would. And of course, my last comment about Montreal and the great job, tip their cap, 3-1 down. He deserves praise for his performance in net because he was utterly brilliant in this series, especially later in the series, Carey Price, and the comments he made after Montreal lost game 4. It looked like the series was done with Toronto up 3-1, and they were asking Carey Price after the game, Alex, why is your team not scoring? What has happened to them? He says, I've got faith. I believe in these guys. They're professionals. They're going to find a way to get it done. And everybody in the postgame last night, Deneau, Suzuki, guys answering questions, said Carey Price saying that lit a spark, saying, this guy's not giving up on us. We ain't going to give up on him. We're going to come after this. And if we lose this series, it's not going to be because we're giving up and putting our tail between our legs and just, waving the white flag. We're not going to do that. Montreal kept battling. They were one shot away from losing the series in game 5 in Toronto. They found that overtime winner, and it just the momentum of positivity got rolling for Montreal from that point. And similarly, the momentum of negative momentum got rolling for Toronto from that point, and the rest is history. Montreal comes back in 7, but it is flat out wrong and flat out not the right thing to do to just say this is a Leaf gag, this is a Leaf choke, this is a Leaf failure, and that it's wrong to say this has nothing to do with what Montreal was able to do. It is a lot to do with what Montreal was able to do. They never gave up. They still believed when they were down 3-1. They got terrific goaltending. They scored dirty, tough goals, tough areas. They all battled. They all won their fair share of puck battles. And Phillip Deneau, the last guy I'll mention, because he shut down Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and that entire Leaf line. And he had struggled against them in the regular season. But who cares about that now? Phillip Deneau, who cares that he struggled against them in the regular season? He won the war because he shut their ass down in this series when it mattered most. Phillip Deneau establishing himself clearly in this series as an elite defensive center. I know he doesn't score. Can we shut up about him not scoring now if you're a Montreal fan? Give it up with that. I understand he's not giving you much offense, but if he's going to play that well defensively at the center ice position on the best players from the other team and 2 of the best players in the league, give him credit for that. And he's a big part. His defensive game is a big part of why Montreal's moving on. Alex, let's get some thoughts on the Montreal side of it from you.
The beauty of hockey, we're seeing it in this North Division. You look at the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers, teams that they have the star power and all the big fan base and everything. But you got to have the mindset and the mentality and have a complete team to advance, and that's what we're seeing from the Winnipeg Jets and the Montreal Canadiens, and that's why they're moving forward. They play complete team hockey. Like you said, Carey Price, he rallied around his guys. He knows, he's a veteran. He's been through, some of the worst times with this Habs club, but he knew, like I said, give his team confidence, give them the boost they need, and like I said, they work for each other. And that's why they're able to come back from that 3-1 deficit. That's why we saw Winnipeg just absolutely obliterate Edmonton. They have this team mentality. And like I said, yeah, we thought the Habs were going to be good at the beginning of the year. And that was the reason why, because they have a complete team. They have, 2 goalies that can play well. They said we can find, if they can get some balanced scoring and some timely defense, which is exactly what we saw in this series, that they can make a run. And here they are now at the most important time, putting it all together. So this is going to be a phenomenal series, Habs and Jets. I already have one play on game 1, but I have no idea what I'm going to do with this series in whole. I think this might be a 6 or 7 game series, and it could go either way. But it's going to be really fun to watch. Like I said, kudos to the Habs for playing complete team hockey and moving forward. And now they get to play a team. Both of these teams are kind of on a free roll because, like I said, no one gave any of them a chance. So they're going to be playing, with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, but they don't have much to lose. So that's going to make for some exciting hockey in the 7-game series.
Yeah, no doubt. Credit to the Montreal and faceoffs. If you don't think faceoffs matter, they do, especially because puck possession is even more important in today's NHL. And Phillip Deneau got better at the faceoff circle as that series went on as well. He was getting beaten a little bit early in the series, but again, later in the series, he was winning a lot. Majority of faceoffs he took and gave Montreal the chance to possess the puck right away. And those matter in the course of a playoff series. And yes, great point by Alex. The Montreal-Winnipeg series will be interesting. We'll save that for tomorrow's show. We'll do a series preview and a game 1 preview on tomorrow's show for the Habs and Jets. I do think one side has an advantage tomorrow night, but I will save that for tomorrow's show when we talk about it. Let's talk briefly Bruins-Islanders from last night, and then we'll preview tonight's game, Lightning and Hurricanes. Look, the Islanders, I think they had to win that game in overtime. If they had erase that 1-0 deficit, and credit to them. They had a great second period, led 3-1. But if they had blown that 3-1 lead like they did, and it went to overtime and they had lost last night, that would have been tough to recover from, down 2-0. Even going back home to Nassau Coliseum, which is a great environment at playoff time. But the Islanders took advantage of a turnover from Jeremy Lozon at the blue line, and Casey Cizikas, Don Cherry calls him Casey Cedidas, had the breakaway for the Islanders, and a beautiful shot past Tuukka Rask, and an overtime win for the New York Islanders to tie that series 1-1. And what a different complexion now. Islanders winning last night versus had they lost last night. Had they blown the lead and lost the game in overtime, that would have been very tough. And I'm not surprised the Islanders responded. And look, there was a lot of love for Boston last night in Game 2, but I'm not at all shocked to see the Islanders respond. That's all they've done in the last couple of years. Backs against the wall. They need to rise up, play better. And with Barry Trotz at the helm as the head coach behind the bench, they've done that. They've brought their best when they've needed it. And the Islanders are going to be a pain in the ass for the Bruins in this series. This is going to be a long, tough, there's a very, very razor-thin margin between these two teams, and I'm all good with that. As someone that's looking for a 7-game series from a betting standpoint with the series props, and also Boston to win exactly 4-3 in 7 games. I want this series to go 7. I think it's going to go 7, and I think it's a legit coin flip. Because even though now the Islanders have taken home ice, Boston's a more than capable team winning on the road. We know that. It wouldn't surprise me to see these teams split in Nassau Coliseum, just like they split the first 2 at TD Garden. This is a good series. This is a physical, heavy, hard-hitting, grind it out, a battle. This series is going to be a battle. People are going to the front of the net. There's punishment. The goalies are getting whacked. Varlamov and Sorokin for the Islanders, Rask for Boston. There's a lot of violence and physicality right in front of the net. This is going to be a series that ain't for the faint of heart, and it's shaping up to be a great, great series here, the Islanders and Bruins, and a huge win last night for the New York Islanders. And their best players were great last night. They got, Beauvillier was good, Nelson good, Eberle good. I mean, you go on down the list. Pajot, again, that's usually when he shows up. Those games when the Islanders really need something to happen. Jean-Gabriel Pajot shows up, and he did that again last night for the Islanders. Great win, 1-1 now with the series shifting to Long Island. Alex, Bruins-Islanders last night, and let's give Alex credit. Islanders money line at a great plus price, nearly plus 180. Alex loved that as his best bet yesterday on the show. Islanders get it done.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And I said it on the program. I said this feels like a game that could be 4-3 Islanders in overtime, and that's exactly how it played out. And this feels like it's going to be a zigzag kind of series. This, kudos to you for grabbing that 7-game series play. That's a good price to have. And this is just one of those games in one of those series where these two teams, you talk about it, during the regular season, how evenly matched they were, how many games went to OT. They play different styles, but styles make fights, and they kind of bring out the best in one another. Boston brings out the better offense in the Islanders. Islanders make Boston work harder on defense, so it makes for exciting hockey. It's great, especially if you're betting in game. There was a lot of great in game chances. I hit Bruins plus 290 in game for the goal that tied the game to send it to OT. So I didn't have the OT prop, but I pretty much got the same, near to the same price because of playing it in game. So this is a fabulous in game series. I won't jump in on a series price at this point, even though, if you like Boston, it's probably the cheapest you might get it at minus 180. If you think Boston's gonna win Game 3, I'd suggest grabbing that now at the price that you can get it. But this is definitely going to be a fun series, and I wouldn't be shocked one bit if this one goes all 7 games.
All right, awesome stuff. Looking forward to the rest of this series. It's shaping up to be a great one. Islanders Bruins 1-1, and we will be on the air for the next game of this series. It is our live betcast. I forgot to announce it on the show yesterday, but I did make the announcement on Twitter yesterday. I'll make it the announcement now for the first time on this show. Our next Stanley Cup playoffs live betcast Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We will be on the air for Bruins-Islanders Game 3, as well as Hurricanes-Lightning Game 3. Those are the 2 games on Thursday night. We will be with you for both, and we will do what we've always done. We're going to invite all our great Ice Guys fam as I like to call them, viewers, listeners, and fans with us to join us live on the stream. And during the betcast, we're going to just have a lot of fun. We're going to just chat it up about the games as they're taking place, live bets, and we're going to hammer a bunch of live bets. Same pattern for me. I'm going to set aside a fixed amount of my bankroll just for the live betting that I'm going to be involved with on Thursday night during the show. It'll be a lot of fun. So join us for that Thursday night betcast, Stanley Cup Playoffs betcast, courtesy of the Ice Guys, Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you join us for that. DM me, DM Alex, DM the Ice Guys Twitter, any one of those three if you want to reserve your spot on the betcast Thursday night to join us live on the air with us on the stream. Make sure you get in contact with us just so we make sure we've got a spot for you in case it's filled up to the brim. Definitely looking forward to the betcast Thursday night. I'm also looking forward to tonight's game as we finally get to tonight's one game on the board. Tampa Bay, Carolina, game 2 of this Central Division Final second round series. Carolina minus 115 home favorites, total 5.5, shaded to the under in this game. Alex mentioned the zigzag theory in the Bruins-Islanders series just a second ago. I'm doing the zigzag theory in terms of both the side and the total tonight in game 2 of this series. If you're Carolina, and I said it yesterday when we recapped Sunday, 5-on-5 in all situations, Carolina won the expected goals margin battle against Tampa Bay. They couldn't have started the game any better than they did in game 1. They were dominant. Vasilevsky was just remarkable. He was incredible. A couple of the saves he made, the glove save he made on one of those Carolina chances early in that game. And Carolina just could not find a way to put a puck in. And sure enough, once you saw all those chances go by the wayside, you just knew this was probably Tampa Bay's game at that point. They'd find a way to score that first goal. They did with Braden Point getting the power play goal in that game to give the Lightning a 1-0 lead. And Carolina, again, kept on peppering. They tied it up. But again, Nedeljkovic hasn't given up many, if any, bad goals in this series, but I don't think he liked the one that Barclay Goodrow scored on him at the end of, about 6 minutes to go in the third period to give Tampa that 2-1 lead. And that is indeed the score. They won by 2-1. But again, if you look at all the advanced numbers, expected goals margin, danger chances, Carolina was better in Tampa in those two categories in game 1. They're right in this series still. So here's what I'm betting tonight in this game, because I think they'll bounce back. I think this is a spot where if you're Carolina, do you really want to lose this game and be down 2-0 at home going back to Tampa Bay? No, you don't. They're good. They're a good road team. They're capable of winning on the road. Hell, they closed out Nashville on the road. Of course they are. But you don't want to have to put yourself in a spot where you're going to have to win, multiple games in this series in Tampa Bay to be able to win this series. This is an important game tonight for Carolina. I'm on a bunch of different things here tonight in this game. This is going to be a tough night for yours truly in terms of the old betting bankroll. If these don't work out, if this is not a Carolina night, I'm in a little bit of difficulty tonight, but we'll see how it goes. But I took Carolina plus 220 series price, adjusted series price yesterday. I bet it following the game 1 Tampa Bay victory. I said I would do that. I bet Carolina adjusted series price after game 1. I've done that. I'm on Carolina minus 115 tonight in game 2. So not only do I have them for the series now, I took them individually tonight in game 2 as well. Minus 115 Carolina. And I'm also going to go over 5.5 plus 100 in this game tonight. Again, we had a lower scoring game 1. It wasn't for lack of chances, wasn't for lack of opportunities. In fact, expected goals in the game, again, were more toward 3 for both teams, which means 6 pretty much for the entire game. So you could see this game, I think, go over the total if some of those chances get converted. Still a big if. You've got Vasilevsky playing outstanding for Tampa Bay, and Nedeljkovic still a very good goalie as well for Carolina. So the pucks still have to go in, but the chances that were generated should have led to more goals than 2-1 as they did in game 1. So I like the over, and that Carolina team total over 2.5 minus 120. I like that as well. I'm going to be on that team total for the Hurricanes as well, because I think this is a night they get to 3. It's fire every puck at the net. Brind'Amour has reinforced that to all of his players going into tonight. We got to shoot from everywhere with a goalie seeing it like Vasilevsky is right now. And I think you're going to see Carolina knot up this series and tie it up at 1 as the scene will shift to Tampa Bay for game 3 Thursday night, which will be part of our betcast that night. Alex, what's your thoughts here? Game 2, Tampa Bay, Carolina.
Yeah, this is an important game for Carolina. Except they can't afford to go down 2-0 and then head into Tampa Bay. They've got to, batten down the hatches, like I said, fire pucks at will, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see. I love this first period over. I got it at 1.5 at plus 100. You can still find it anywhere between minus $1.05 and plus 105 if you shop around. So anywhere in that pick 'em range, I think this is a great spot. These are two teams that have been cashing those in left and right. The fact that everything kind of started out slow, it's kind of like we always use that styles make fights reference, but this is kind of like a boxing match in a sense. The first game, that first period, first two periods, they're just kind of feeling each other out, getting a sense of each other, even though they've played each other quite often in the regular season. But they still were just kind of, getting that familiar with one another before making those chances. Both teams know that they can't, just make a bunch of lackadaisical chances. They have to be engaged at both ends of the ice because the other team has the offense that could absolutely bury them. But I think we're going to see more offensive chances early in this contest. Things could slow down a little bit late, but I still feel confident enough that not only the first period will cash it, but I also like the full game over, which I found at plus 100 as well. So give me the first period over and the full game over in this game. I'm already on the Carolina series, so I feel that they'll be able to win it. I'm not going to touch on the money line there.
Yeah, and there's something else supporting the over tonight. Carolina has not played consecutive unders yet here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, yeah, last game stayed under, but they have not had two straight playoff games yet. Both stay under the total. So, if that trend holds to form, then we're going to see this game go over the total. Another thing that's concerning for Tampa Bay, shorthanded on the blue line potentially tonight. David Savard missed game one. He's questionable to return tonight with that upper body injury. And Eric Chernak, who's had a really good season, been a good defenseman for the Lightning this season. He may not play tonight, so you could be a little bit going into the depth chart tonight in that blue line. You're going to see more minutes for the likes of Luke Schenn, among others, and he's been around the block. He's okay, but I'd still rather have Chernak and Savard, who are very good defensemen, good playoff defensemen as well for this Lightning team. It's either that, you're going to have to play Schenn and some others more minutes, or you're going to have to play McDonough and Hedman, your top two defensemen, a shit ton, and they're already playing a lot of minutes for John Cooper on this Tampa Bay Lightning blue line. So those are your choices right now. If both Chernak and Savard are not able to suit up for Tampa Bay, they are game time decisions for game two of this game tonight. All right, that is the Tuesday breakdown of the Tampa-Carolina game. We recapped last night. That'll just about wrap up this show. Before we get to best bets, a reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB on a daily basis. Great time of year to be testing out DraftKings. When you sign up for an account and download the app, you'll get deposit bonuses, weekly specials, weekly incentives, bet boosts, and more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time for best bets for this Tuesday edition of the Ice Guys. Again, we only have the one game tonight, but Alex, what do you like here for best bet?
That first period over with Canes and Bolts. He said 1.5. You can shop around. I got it at plus 100. You should be able to find at least a plus 105 or nothing worse than minus $1.05 there. Two teams that are going to have a lot of chances firing on one another. Also, if you like it, you can find it certain books. I know DraftKings will offer this. Both teams to score in the first period. You usually find that at an adjusted price around plus 180 up to $2. So I wouldn't mind sprinkling a little bit on that as well. But the best bet will be first period over between Carolina and Tampa Bay over 1.5.
All right, there we go. Tampa Bay, Carolina, over 1.5 first period for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. We both went 2-0 with best bets yesterday. Islanders for Alex, the over in that Islanders-Bruins game for me. And I'm going to Carolina minus 115 here is my best bet tonight on the show. I think Carolina gets it done. Could have a short-handed Lightning blue line. If you're Carolina, you should not be deterred that say, oh, we played poorly and lost. No, sometimes you play good and you still lose. I thought that was what happened with Carolina in game one. If they bring that tonight, I think they even up the series. Carolina minus 115 against Tampa Bay. That is my best bet for this Tuesday edition of the Ice Guys. And that'll wrap up this edition of the show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week on YouTube, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeart. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.